Hello, and welcome to Cyber Risk Management in Practice. In this video, we'll explore governance and cybersecurity culture, two foundational elements that can make or break a cyber risk management program. These are the pillars that support everything else we do, and yet they're often skipped over as organizations rush into tools, assessments, or technology implementations. But here's the thing. Without a solid structure for making decisions, aligning teams, and shaping behavior, even the best security tools won't deliver real results. So let's start with governance. In the context of cybersecurity, governance is the framework that holds your program together. It's how your organization sets direction, allocates resources, defines roles, and ensures accountability. It's not just about policies, it's about clarity, alignment, and leadership. Good governance connects your security priorities with your business goals. It turns cyber risk management into a strategic function, not just an operational one. But governance on its own doesn't guarantee success. You also need a strong cybersecurity culture, one where people across the organization understand their role in protecting information and systems and act accordingly. Governance gives you structure, culture gives you movement. And when they reinforce each other, that's where things really start to click. In fact, this connection is now front and center in one of the most widely used frameworks. Let's take a look at how the NIST Cybersecurity Framework 2.0 has brought this to the surface. With the new version of the NIST CSF, governance has moved from being an implied part of the process to being a dedicated function. It's called simply govern, and it reflects a clear shift. Cybersecurity isn't just a technical concern anymore. It's a leadership concern, a business concern. So what does the govern function actually cover? It starts with understanding your organizational context. This includes your mission, values, risk tolerance, and stakeholder expectations. In other words, it asks, how does cybersecurity fit into who we are and what we're trying to achieve? From there, it helps you define your risk management strategy, establish clear roles and responsibilities, and build the policies and processes that guide action across the organization. But it's not just about writing policies. It's about making sure they're communicated, enforced, and aligned with how your organization actually works. Govern also puts a strong emphasis on supply chain risk, a reminder that your exposure isn't limited to what's inside your firewall. You're connected to vendors, partners, platforms, and those connections come with risk. What makes this function powerful is that it helps you embed cybersecurity into decision making at every level, not just in the IT department, but across leadership, operations, and support teams. It's a shift in mindset from thinking of security as a set of technical tasks to viewing it as a strategic capability. And that mindset is what opens the door to real cultural change. So, next, let's talk about how policies and governance efforts start to become part of how people behave, not just what they're told to do. So, governance sets the direction. But the real test is whether that direction shows up in how people actually work. A lot of organizations believe that once they've documented their policies, standards, and procedures, they're done. But the reality is, that's just the starting point. The hard part is turning those documents into day-to-day behavior. That's where cybersecurity culture comes in. Culture is what people do when no one's watching. It's the shared understanding that guides decisions and actions, even when there's no checklist in front of them. And the govern function in NIST CSF recognizes this. It's not just about setting expectations, it's about reinforcing them, reviewing them regularly, and adjusting based on what's working and what's not. It also pushes us to look beyond internal operations to think about our supply chain and how risks can emerge through third parties. Good governance means extending your culture of security awareness outward, not just protecting your own systems, but also paying attention to your ecosystem. And maybe most importantly, it encourages continuous improvement. Cybersecurity isn't a one and done project. It's a cycle, a living process that adapts as your business evolves and threats change. When done right, governance and culture begin to reinforce each other. Governance provides the structure. Culture provides the momentum, And the more people internalize secure behaviors, the less you have to enforce them because they start happening naturally. Now, this kind of culture doesn't just show up on its own. It's built through leadership, through reinforcement, and through people. So now, let's discuss how to build that culture from the inside out, starting with the people who shape it every day. If we want a strong cybersecurity culture, we can't treat it like a training checklist or an annual reminder. Culture is built through people, how they lead, how they communicate, and how they reinforce what matters every day. And this starts with HR. From recruitment and onboarding, HR plays a big role in setting the tone. When new hires learn from day one that cybersecurity is part of how the organization works, not just an IT issue, it begins to shape their mindset. But HR can't do it alone. Managers and team leads are critical. They're the ones who bring security into daily operations, reinforcing it in meetings, decision making, and how teams respond to issues. That's where the idea of cybersecurity champions comes in. Champions are people from across the organization, not just in tech, who advocate for secure practices in their own teams. They help normalize secure behavior simply by setting the example. This kind of peer influence is powerful. People tend to follow what they see modeled by others they trust. There's actually research that backs this up. Behavioral science tells us that social norms, what people believe is expected of them, can drive more change than policies ever will. One example comes from a well-known experiment involving hotel guests and towel reuse. When people were told that others like them were already participating, the rates of towel reuse went up significantly. Why? Because people follow the group. And when you connect that with a sense of personal commitment, the results grow even stronger. The same principle applies to cybersecurity. When secure behavior becomes the norm and people see that their peers take it seriously, it spreads. Not through pressure, but through alignment. So the goal isn't to enforce culture from the top down. It's to build it from the inside, using natural leaders who are already respected and trusted within their teams. And when this takes root, cybersecurity becomes something people do not because they have to, but because it makes sense. Finally, we need to connect all of this, the strategy, the structure, the people, with what it actually looks like in the real world. Let's talk about what it takes to lead cultural change, even when the starting point feels messy or overwhelming. Everything we've talked about, governance, culture, leadership, people, it all sounds great in theory. But let's be honest, in the real world, the starting point is usually messy. I've worked with many organizations trying to build a cyber risk management program. And more often than not, what I see is a lot of good intentions, but no real foundation. There's no asset inventory, no baseline, no clear risk ownership, just overloaded teams and a fear of making it official by writing risks down. The resistance isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just fatigue. People are already busy. The systems they're using were built before cyber threats were even on the radar. And there's a very real fear that acknowledging the gaps will make things harder before they get better. This is why culture change isn't about big declarations. It's about small wins, built one step at a time. Like when you take a team that's overwhelmed and help them focus on just one thing, an inventory, a review, a discussion. You start where they are. You show progress. And with each step, confidence builds. That's what drives transformation. It reminds me of the U.S. space program in the 1960s. When President Kennedy announced the goal to land a man on the moon, it sounded impossible. The technology didn't exist yet. The risks were enormous, and no one had done anything close to it before. But NASA didn't try to do it all at once. They focused first on building the rocket systems, then on training astronauts, then on testing equipment and learning from every single failure. Each mission brought a lesson. Each setback led to an improvement. And eventually, they reached the goal because they took it one phase at a time, always building on what came before. That's how cultural change works in cybersecurity too. If you had told NASA in the early 60s to go straight to the moon, they would have left. But with the right approach, people saw progress. The leaf grew, and what once seemed unrealistic became a reality. That's exactly how cultural change works in cybersecurity. You lead with clarity. You build momentum. You meet people where they are. And you do it knowing that you're not chasing perfection, you're building resilience. We're not aiming for a mythical perfect world where everything's documented, every system is up to date, and everyone already gets it. We're building in the real world with constraints, legacy systems, and human behavior. That's why governance and culture matter so much. They're what allow you to build forward without needing everything to be perfect from the start. So if you're feeling the weight of where to begin, just know this. You don't have to fix everything overnight. You just have to take the first step and keep going. And if this approach resonates with you, there's a lot more discussed in the book. Find your copy and embark on this journey with me, improving your cyber risk management program step by step with a practical approach.